Freedom in capitalist society always remains about the same as it was in ancient Greek republics. Freedom for slave owners. Can a nation be free if it oppresses other nations? It cannot. The press should be not only a collective propagandist and a collective agitator, but also a collective organizer of the masses. Despair is typical of those who do not understand the causes of evil, see no way out, and are incapable of struggle. The modern industrial proletariat does not belong to the category of such classes. A revolution is impossible without a revolutionary situation. Furthermore, not every revolutionary situation leads to revolution. When one makes a revolution, one cannot mark time. One must always go forward or go back. He who now talks about the freedom of the press goes backward and halts our headlong course towards socialism. While the state exists, there can be no freedom. When there is freedom, there will be no state. Politics begin where the masses are, not where there are thousands, but where there are millions. That is where serious politics begin. Communism is Soviet power plus the electrification of the whole country. It is impossible to predict the time and progress of revolution. It is governed by its own more or less mysterious laws. Capitalists are no more capable of self-sacrifice than a man is capable of lifting himself up by his own bootstraps. Every cook has to learn how to govern the state.ion. Furthermore, not every revolutionary situation leads to revolution. When one makes a revolution, one cannot mark time. One must always go forward or go back. He who now talks about the freedom of the press goes backward and halts our headlong course towards socialism. While the state exists, there can be no freedom. When there is freedom, there will be no state. Politics begin where the masses are, not where there are thousands, but where there are millions. That is where serious politics begin. Communism is Soviet power plus the electrification of the whole country. It is impossible to predict the time and progress of revolution. It is governed by its own more or less mysterious laws. Capitalists are no more capable of self-sacrifice than a man is capable of lifting himself up by his own bootstraps. Every cook has to learn how to govern the state. Our program necessarily includes the propaganda of atheism. If socialism can only be realized when the intellectual development of all the people permits it, then we shall not see socialism for at least 500 years. Under socialism, all will govern in turn and will soon become accustomed to no one governing. To rely upon conviction, devotion, and other excellent spiritual qualities, that is not to be taken seriously in politics. Any cook should be able to run the country. Without a revolutionary theory, there cannot be a revolutionary movement. The government is tottering. We must deal at the death blow at any cost. To delay action is the same as death. If it were necessary to give the briefest possible definition of imperialism, we should have to say that imperialism is the monopoly stage of capitalism. The history of all countries shows that the working class, exclusively by its own effort, is able to develop only trade union consciousness. The same thing, which is now called Christian religion, existed among the ancients. They have begun to call Christian the true religion, which existed before. The confession of evil works is the first beginning of good works. He fashioned hell for the inquisitive. Will is to grace as the horse is to the rider. It seems to me that an unjust law is no law at all. Hear the other side. If two friends ask you to judge a dispute, don't accept because you will lose one friend. On the other hand, if two strangers come with the same request, accept because you will gain one friend. Love and do what you like. I have read in Plato and Cicero sayings that are wise and very beautiful, but I have never read in either of them, "Come unto me all ye that labor and are heavy laden." God is best known in not knowing him. He that is kind is free, though he is a slave, He that is evil is a slave, though he be a king. What I needed most was to love and to be loved. Eager to be caught, happily I wrapped those painful bonds around me, and sure enough, I would be lashed with the red-hot pokers or jealousy, by suspicions and fear, by burst of anger and quarrels. The words printed here are concepts. You must go through the experiences. Thou must be emptied of that wherewith thou art full, that thou mayest be filled with that whereof thou art empty. Beauty is indeed a good gift of God, but that the good may not think it a great good, God dispenses it even to the wicked. The desire is thy prayers, and if thy desire is without ceasing, thy prayer will also be without ceasing. The continuance of your longing is the continuance of your prayer. I want my friend to miss me as long as I miss him. The spiritual virtue of a sacrament is like light. Although it passes among the impure, it is not polluted. By faithfulness we are collected and wound up into unity within ourselves, whereas we had been scattered abroad in multiplicity. It is not the punishment, but the cause that makes the martyr. To many, total abstinence is easier than perfect moderation. Repentant tears wash out the stain of guilt. Who can map out the various forces at play in one soul? Man is a great depth, O Lord. The hairs of his head are easier by far to count than his feeling, the movements of his heart. Don't you believe that there is in man a deep so profound as to be hidden even to him in whom it is? I found thee not, O Lord, without, because I erred in seeking thee without that wert within. To seek the highest good is to live well. The verdict of the world is conclusive. The honors of this world, what are they but puff, and emptiness, and peril of falling? Bad company is like a nail driven into a post, which, after the first and second blow, may be drawn out with little difficulty, but being once driven up to the head, the pincers cannot take hold to draw it out, but which can only be done by the destruction of the wood. My mind withdrew its thoughts from experience, extracting itself from the contradictory throng of sensuous images, that it might find out what that light was wherein it was bathed. And thus, with the flash of one hurried glance, it attained to the vision of that which is. A thing is not necessarily true because badly uttered, nor false because spoken magnificently. He who labors, prays. There is no possible source of evil except good. This world's a bubble. Custom is second nature. Indeed, man wishes to be happy even when he so lives as to make happiness impossible. We make ourselves a ladder out of our vices if we trample the vices themselves underfoot. No eulogy is due to him who simply does his duty and nothing more. The soul, which is spirit, cannot dwell in dust. It is carried along to dwell in the blood. To abstain from sin when one can no longer sin is to be forsaken by sin. Not to forsake it, we cannot pass our guardian angel's bounds. Resigned or sullen, he will hear our sighs. If I am given a formula, and I am ignorant of its meaning, it cannot teach me anything. But if I already know it, what does the formula teach me? If we did not have rational souls, we would not be able to believe. We are certainly in a common class with the beasts. Every action of animal life is concerned with seeking bodily pleasure and avoiding pain. Blessedness consists in the accomplishment of our desires, and in our having only regular desires. We make a ladder for ourselves of our vices. If we trample those same vices underfoot, through consciousness, our minds have the power to change our planet and ourselves. It is time we heed the wisdom of the ancient indigenous people and channel our consciousness and spirit to tend the garden and not destroy it. Epigenetics doesn't change the genetic code. It changes how that's read. Perfectly normal genes can result in cancer or death. Vice versa, in the right environment, mutant genes won't be expressed. Genes are equivalent to blueprints. Epigenetics is the contractor. They change the assembly, the structure,